My child. There is something quietly fascinating about the way Elon Musk approaches impossible goals. Instead of asking, "Can this be done?" the question often becomes, "What happens if I refuse to stop learning?" That quiet determination has more in common with your soulmate's hidden journey than you may have ever imagined, and if you stay with these words, you may recognize a truth that has been unfolding around you for far longer than you realized. Don't skip, because something important is waiting for you, and it arrives one gentle layer at a time. Long before two hearts can truly understand one another, life begins teaching them separately. One learns through waiting. The other learns through growing. One discovers patience. The other discovers courage. And somewhere between those silent lessons, an invisible path begins to form. You may have wondered why certain moments felt delayed, why some conversations never happened when you expected, or why certain doors closed just as you were preparing to walk through them. What if those moments were never empty? What if they were classrooms disguised as ordinary days? Your soulmate has been standing inside one of those classrooms for longer than they ever imagined. Every challenge they have faced has slowly reshaped the way they think, not by making life easier, but by teaching them to look beyond what everyone else notices first. That is the connection hidden inside today's message. Great progress rarely begins with certainty. It begins with the willingness to remain present while the answers are still invisible. And quietly, almost unnoticed, your soulmate has been learning exactly that. Stay till the end, because the most meaningful realization has not appeared yet. There was a season when they believed every setback meant they had chosen the wrong direction. They questioned their own instincts. They replayed old conversations. They searched for immediate proof that everything would eventually make sense. Yet every time they almost turned away, life invited them to pause for one more day, to take one more step, to learn one more lesson. At first it felt frustrating. Later it became wisdom. Today it is becoming part of the person they are slowly growing into. That growth matters more than they currently understand. Because one day they will look back and realize that the greatest lesson was never about reaching someone quickly. It was about becoming someone capable of protecting, appreciating, and sustaining genuine love. And perhaps, without even noticing, you have been walking through similar lessons yourself. Maybe your own heart has learned to remain kind even when nobody applauded it. Maybe your own spirit has learned to stay hopeful even when the future looked uncertain. Those quiet victories rarely receive attention, yet they often shape the strongest people. This is why today's message feels so personal. It is not describing strangers. It is describing two lives that have been growing in parallel, preparing for a chapter neither could fully recognize before now. Sometimes growth happens so gradually that it feels like nothing is changing at all. Then suddenly one conversation, one unexpected moment, or one quiet realization reveals how far the journey has actually come. That moment is closer than either of you realizes. There is another layer hidden beneath everything you have heard so far. Your soulmate's greatest lesson was never simply persistence. It was learning to let purpose become stronger than temporary emotion. Once that shift begins, decisions become calmer. Reactions become wiser. Relationships become deeper. That transformation cannot be rushed, because lasting change almost always grows quietly before anyone can see it. If these words have found something familiar inside your heart, pause for just a moment. Some people like to write "Amen" or share an angel number that feels meaningful to them, not as certainty about the future, but as a simple reflection of hope and gratitude for the journey they are on. There is no pressure, only a quiet invitation to recognize the light you are already carrying. But don't leave yet, because something even more meaningful is beginning to unfold. The lesson your soulmate has been learning is only the first piece of a much larger picture, and the next part reveals why that lesson unexpectedly connects both of your paths in a way neither of you could have predicted. Few people notice the exact moment when quiet growth becomes quiet confidence. It never announces itself. It never asks for attention. It simply appears one ordinary day, hidden inside a different way of thinking. That is where your soulmate stands now. They are beginning to understand that the strongest decisions are rarely emotional reactions, they are peaceful choices made after countless unseen lessons. Don't skip, because this is where today's message becomes even more personal. Imagine someone building something meaningful. The first attempt is imperfect. The second feels uncertain. The third still leaves questions unanswered. Yet each attempt carries one invisible gift: experience. That same pattern has been unfolding within your soulmate's heart. Every disappointment they once wished had never happened has quietly become part of the wisdom they now carry. What once felt like delay is slowly revealing itself as preparation. There was a time when they searched outside themselves for every answer. They believed another person's approval would finally give them confidence. They thought perfect timing would erase every doubt. But life continued whispering the same lesson in different ways. Confidence does not arrive because every uncertainty disappears. It arrives because a person learns to keep moving with integrity even while uncertainty remains. Perhaps that sounds familiar to you. Maybe there were moments when you questioned your own journey. Maybe you wondered why your kindness was overlooked or why certain opportunities seemed to pass by. Yet every chapter has been shaping qualities that cannot be created overnight. Patience, compassion, discernment, quiet resilience. These are not ordinary gifts. They become the foundation of relationships that can endure changing seasons. Stay till the end, because another piece of this story has not yet been revealed. Something remarkable happens when two people are both learning instead of simply waiting. Their expectations begin to change. They stop searching for perfection and begin recognizing authenticity. They become less interested in appearances and more interested in character. They begin listening more carefully, not only to words, but to actions, consistency, and quiet sincerity. Your soulmate has been moving toward that realization. Not through one dramatic event. Not through one unforgettable conversation. But through dozens of ordinary moments that slowly transform the way they see life. And here is the beautiful part. Those same ordinary moments have also been shaping you. Without realizing it, your journeys have been echoing one another from different places. While you were learning one lesson, they were discovering another. While you were developing patience, they were learning courage. While you were protecting your peace, they were discovering the value of honesty. Different paths, yet strangely connected by the same purpose. There is something comforting about this. Growth does not always happen together. Sometimes it happens separately so that when two lives finally cross again, they meet with greater understanding than would have been possible before. Take a quiet moment with that thought. How many events once felt random but now seem connected? How many closed doors eventually guided you toward a better direction? The answers rarely appear all at once. They arrive gradually, almost like dawn replacing darkness without anyone noticing the exact second the light returned. If these words resonate with your heart, many people choose to quietly write "Amen" or share an angel number that reminds them to remain hopeful and grateful through every season. It is simply a personal expression of encouragement, a reminder that meaningful growth often happens long before visible change appears. But this is not the deepest realization. Not yet. Because your soulmate is approaching one final lesson, a lesson that changes the way they see not only themselves, but also the kind of love they are truly ready to build. And when that realization unfolds, the connection between your journey and theirs will become clearer than ever before. The most meaningful transformations rarely arrive with applause. They arrive in silence, almost unnoticed, until one ordinary moment suddenly feels different from every moment that came before. That is the place your soulmate is quietly approaching now. Stay till the end, because what unfolds next is not about a dramatic event. It is about a quiet shift that changes everything from the inside out. There comes a season when a person stops asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and begins asking, "What is this teaching me?" That single change in perspective has the power to reshape an entire future. It is not loud. It is not instant. Yet once it begins, old fears slowly lose their influence, unnecessary comparisons begin to fade, and hope no longer depends on perfect circumstances. This is the lesson your soulmate has been learning. Not by reading about it. Not by hearing someone else explain it. But by living through moments that gently refined their heart. Every unexpected delay taught patience. Every unanswered question taught trust. Every quiet season taught them that growth often happens where no one is watching. And perhaps that has been true for you as well. There have been days when you wondered whether your efforts mattered. Days when your kindness seemed invisible. Days when your heart quietly whispered, "Keep going," even when nothing around you appeared to change. Those days were never wasted. They became part of the person you are becoming. Don't skip, because another hidden connection is beginning to appear. Think about the people who leave a lasting impact on others. It is rarely because they never struggled. It is because they allowed every challenge to shape their character instead of hardening their heart. That quiet strength cannot be borrowed. It must be built, one decision at a time. Your soulmate is beginning to understand this truth. Instead of rushing toward every opportunity, they are becoming more thoughtful. Instead of reacting to every emotion, they are learning to pause. Instead of chasing what looks impressive, they are starting to value what feels genuine. That change is more powerful than it seems. Because when someone's priorities change, their future changes with them. And somewhere within your own journey, similar lessons have been unfolding. Perhaps you have become more patient than you were a year ago. Perhaps you now recognize the importance of peace over constant excitement. Perhaps you have learned that the strongest relationships are built through consistency, honesty, and mutual growth rather than perfect timing. If so, then your path has been preparing you in ways you may not have fully recognized. There is something beautiful about two people growing independently while unknowingly moving toward the same destination. Neither can force the process. Neither can rush the timing. Yet every lesson brings them closer to becoming the kind of people who can truly appreciate one another. Pause here for a moment. Imagine looking back years from now and realizing that the seasons you once questioned became the very seasons that gave your story its deepest meaning. That realization changes everything. If these words bring a quiet sense of hope, some people like to write, Amen, or share an angel number that reminds them to stay grateful for every lesson, even the ones they did not understand at first. It is simply a personal way of marking a meaningful moment along the journey. But one final piece still remains hidden. Your soulmate has not only been changing the way they think, they are beginning to recognize something they overlooked for a very long time. It is a realization so quiet that it almost passes unnoticed, yet once they see it clearly, they will never look at love, purpose, or connection in quite the same way again. And that is where the next part begins. There is a moment in every meaningful journey when the search quietly comes to an end, not because every question has been answered, but because the heart finally learns which questions truly matter. Your soulmate is standing closer to that moment than they realize. Don't skip, because what is about to unfold is not a sudden revelation. It is the gentle arrival of clarity, and clarity has a way of changing everything without making a sound. For a long time, they believed that progress could only be measured by visible results. They looked for signs that everyone else could see. They expected certainty before taking meaningful steps. But life continued offering a different lesson, one quiet day after another. Real progress often happens beneath the surface. A tree does not become stronger on the day its branches stretch toward the sky. It becomes stronger during the unseen seasons when its roots grow deeper into the ground. Those hidden seasons are rarely celebrated, yet they determine how high the tree can eventually rise. Your soulmate has been living through one of those hidden seasons. Each conversation that challenged them. Each unexpected delay. Each peaceful moment of reflection. Each choice to become more patient instead of more frustrated. None of it was meaningless. Every experience was quietly strengthening the roots of their character. And perhaps, if you look carefully at your own story, you will notice something similar. The moments that shaped you most were probably not the loudest moments. They were the quiet mornings when you chose hope instead of discouragement. The evenings when you decided to forgive instead of carrying unnecessary weight. The ordinary days when no one noticed your effort except your own heart. Those moments have been building something within you that cannot be rushed. Stay till the end, because the connection between your journey and your soulmate's journey is becoming impossible to ignore. One of the greatest lessons inspired by minds that build extraordinary things is this: meaningful visions are not abandoned simply because the road becomes difficult. They are refined. They are adjusted. They become wiser with every attempt. Your soulmate has slowly begun to understand that love works in much the same way. It is not about finding perfection. It is about becoming someone who values honesty over appearance. Peace over pride. Growth over comfort. Understanding over assumptions. That realization has changed the way they see relationships. Instead of asking, "Who will complete me?" they have started asking, "How can I become someone who brings peace wherever I go?" That single question has quietly transformed their perspective. Without realizing it, your own journey has been asking you a similar question. Not through words. Through experiences. Every season invited you to become a little more compassionate. A little more patient. A little more confident without needing constant reassurance. And now those lessons are beginning to align. Two separate stories. Two different paths. Yet both moving toward the same destination through remarkably similar wisdom. Pause here for just a moment. Have you noticed how the greatest changes in your life often became visible only after they had already happened inside you? That is exactly what is unfolding now. The outer story always follows the inner transformation. Never the other way around. If this message has encouraged your heart today, some people quietly write, "Amen," or share an angel number that reminds them to remain grateful for every unseen lesson that helps shape who they are becoming. It is simply a personal expression of hope, a small reminder that growth is always worth celebrating, even before its full purpose becomes visible. But the journey has reached its most intriguing point. There is one final lesson your soulmate has only recently begun to understand. It is not about patience. It is not about perseverance. It is something even deeper. A realization that quietly changes the way they see you, the way they see themselves, and the way they believe meaningful connections are built. And once that final lesson comes fully into focus, every piece of this story will finally fit together. The final lesson never arrives with a grand announcement. It slips into the heart so gently that, at first, it almost feels ordinary. Yet years later, people often look back and realize that everything truly changed in that quiet moment. Stay till the end, because this final piece has been waiting for you since the very beginning of this journey. Your soulmate has finally begun to understand that the greatest strength is not moving faster than everyone else. It is remaining true to what matters while the world constantly changes around you. That realization did not appear overnight. It grew through every lesson. Every pause. Every unexpected turn. Every season that seemed ordinary but carried extraordinary purpose beneath the surface. Much like someone who continues refining an ambitious vision one thoughtful step at a time, your soulmate has discovered that meaningful progress is built through consistency, not constant excitement. And now another truth has quietly appeared. Love cannot flourish where people are pretending to be someone they are not. Real connection begins the moment masks become unnecessary. The moment two people no longer feel the need to impress one another. The moment kindness becomes natural instead of performed. The moment honesty becomes more valuable than perfection. That is where lasting relationships begin. Perhaps that is why your own path has felt so different lately. You have been learning to appreciate peace more than noise. Depth more than appearance. Purpose more than urgency. Those lessons have not separated you from your future. They have been preparing you for it. Don't skip, because the most personal realization is unfolding right now. Imagine standing at the top of a mountain after a long journey. From that height, every difficult path suddenly makes sense. The winding roads. The unexpected detours. The moments when you almost turned back. Without them, you would never have reached the view that now fills your heart with gratitude. Life often reveals its meaning this way. Not while you are climbing, but after you realize how much the climb has quietly changed you. That is exactly what has been happening to both you and your soulmate. Neither journey was about becoming perfect. Both journeys were about becoming genuine. And genuine hearts recognize one another in ways that words alone never could. Take a slow moment to reflect. Think about who you were 1 year ago. Think about the small habits that changed. The conversations that shaped you. The quiet victories nobody celebrated. Those moments matter. They became part of your foundation. Your soulmate has been building a similar foundation. Not an identical one. A complementary one. Like two separate melodies that sound complete only when they are finally heard together. If these words have brought peace to your heart, many people quietly write, Amen, or share an angel number that reminds them to keep walking with gratitude, patience, and hope. It is simply a personal reflection, a way of acknowledging that every meaningful journey begins with small, faithful steps. And now, as this chapter gently comes to its close, remember the thought that quietly connected every part of today's message. The comparison was never really about one person's achievements. It was about a mindset. A willingness to keep learning. To keep growing. To keep refining. To keep choosing purpose over impatience. That is the lesson your soulmate has been discovering. That is the lesson your own heart has been learning. And perhaps that is why this message found you today. Because when two people are committed to becoming wiser, kinder, and more authentic with each passing season, they are already moving towards something far greater than they can see in the present moment. The story ends here. But the quiet lessons it leaves behind will continue unfolding long after these words fade into silence.